Support for this show, Politics Done Right, comes from politicsdoneright.com, publishers of How to Make America Utopia, Take Away the Economy from Those Who Rigged It, As I See It, Class Warfare, The Only Resort to Right-Wing Doom, It's Worth It, How to Talk to Your Right-Wing Relatives, Friends, and Neighbors, and other books written by Egberto Willis. Welcome to another edition of Politics Done Right. I'm Egberto Willis, your host. Today we are honored to have two special men, Mr. Maoz Inan and Aziz Abu Sarah. Okay, let me tell you guys something. You know what we talk about? We talk about the Israeli-Gaza issue. You know what I believe in? I believe that war is stupid. You know that I believe that there is no reason for cousins not to get along. Yeah. And you may see that as altruistic, but it's really reality that is stopped by, you know what I talk about, economic systems, but we won't go there. First of all, welcome Maoz and Aziz. Welcome to Politics Done Right.
Thank you.
First of all, how did a Jewish dude and a Palestinian dude in this world that tries to keep folks apart get together?
Tinder. No, I'm joking. I'm joking.
No. But actually, you guys have your own mic. You don't have to look. You don't have to.
Oh, that's
You don't
true.
have to steal my mic
That's
from
true.
me. Okay,
That's true. So no, not Tinder. Not Tinder.
Not Tinder.
No, we both met first time 4 or 5 years ago, 10 years ago. We're not sure. Mm-hmm. Maoz works in tourism in hotels and hostels, and I work also in tourism, and our companies work together. And so that's how we first time met, but not really how we became friends. We became friends after October 7th when Maoz's parents were killed. And I sent him a message of condolences the next day and just told him that I stand with him. I believe in, just like you said, violence is never going to bring freedom and never going to bring security to anybody. And especially knowing that his parents were killed, I couldn't be silent. And so I sent him a message to say I care and I love him. And he responded. And that's how we started.
Am I understanding right that your family was a part of the disaster, the terrorist attack in...
Yeah.
First of all, let me give you my most sincere condolences. I'm sorry to hear that. And wow, I didn't know that. But anyhow, and how did you've been working with your Palestinian brother here for quite a while. How did it feel to you when he called you to give you, to let you know that he stood with you?
First, I would say I was broken.
Right.
Okay, I was broken. I lost I lost my parents, but I lost childhood friends, their parents, their children that were killed or kidnapped to Gaza. And when Aziz approached me, I knew how difficult it is for a Palestinian to recognize the suffering and the pain I was going through, how much bravery it means, and how much courage. You know, it's so difficult to pay condolences to anyone, even to your neighbor, to anyone. It's so difficult. Something you want to avoid.
Right.
It doesn't matter when you don't want to pay condolences. It's you do because you must do. And I knew Aziz was doing it not because he must do, because this is his personality. This is his belief. Those are his values. And I knew how difficult it is. So when I knew I have a partner for peace. I have a partner for reconciliation. So it's even if before that only our companies were partnering on some projects and initiatives, I decided this time I want directly to partner with Aziz. Because I want to justify the death of my parents. I want them to be victims of peace, not victims of war. And then we have decided together to work and build, not just to work, to build and pave the path to peace and reconciliation. And this is what we've been doing in the last 9 months. And we are not alone. We are just a representative of the new Palestinian-Israeli peace movement that is gaining power, that is growing, that is becoming more and more relevant as the war is being waging, and as it's proven again and again that bomb not bringing silence and war is not bringing security. So we are here on a mission to make peace between the river and the sea.
I think this is so, first of all, magnanimous of you that you could go through that pain. And I tell you something, what I love here is that people are people. Humans are humans. There are a lot of externalities that actually creates the friction between people, most of it out completely of our control, and it's just we who can determine that we are not going to allow those externalities to exist. And first of all, I think that your approach says so much about character. It says so much about character, especially how the world came down. Is that your upbringing? What is it?
Well, I understood what Maoz is going through because earlier, when I was 10 years old, my brother was killed as well in this conflict. And so I understood the pain of what he was going through. I understood what it means when somebody in your family is killed and you start looking for answers. And I understood how important it is to have allies, to have somebody with you, to have friends, to have people who believe that we are together. I think the world likes to divide us as Israelis versus Palestinians, and we refuse this division. If we are divided as those of us who believe in equality and dignity and peace and reconciliation, and those who don't believe in that. And so I wanted to send
Don't believe in that yet.
And don't believe in that
I like
yet.
that. Yes, yeah.
Absolutely. I forgot that part today.
Yeah.
And that is very important. We want to grow this alliance. And so, I reached out because I understand the pain, but I understand also the potential, and I understand the what we can create together. And, I didn't know if Maoz will respond or not.
Right.
And so I thought it's important to just send the message, and he did respond immediately. And so within a few days, we met, we started talking, and then we said, let's do some work together. Let's make sure people hear our message. There's so much justification for violence where people use our stories to justify killing more people.
Right.
I was like, let us make sure that no one can use our pain, no one can use our stories, no one can use our suffering to justify making somebody else go through that suffering. Let us make sure people understand we're not on opposite sides. We are together. We are in this together. We cry with each other, we laugh with each other, and we imagine the future together.
We've lived in a society that so depends on divisions, and it's not only the Israeli-Palestinian division, it's a division here in the United States that is occurring as well. And I think you present a template that needs to be seen. I could take this interview, this discussion in so many different places, the bombing in Gaza, the attacks in West Bank. I could do all of that. But I think that defeats the purpose of what needs to happen. Mm-hmm. My question to you is, how do you get, right now you have a right-wing government. Before I get to there is a town in Israel, and I can't remember the town, where distinctly Palestinians and Israeli decided to live together to show that it could be done. You probably
Oasis of Peace. Oasis of Peace.
Okay.
Yes.
And in the Oasis of Peace, this October 7th even created a conflict within the people, not an overt conflict, but a conflict of silence where people just didn't know how to react, and that you were able to create the dialogue is something that we need.
Right.
Now, how can you migrate this? Because it's something that has to happen to solve the problem. And when you have a right-wing government in one place and you have a group that is based, forgive me for saying this, I just have to say this to be honest with my audience. Anybody who commits these types of murders are terrorists, and we have to name it accordingly. Whoever starts it, ends it, whatever, we have to do that. And in the process of doing that, how do we get your message for the rest of the Jewish people, for the rest of the Palestinian people?
First, it's a global message. It's not just to our people, it's for the entire world.
Exactly.
Because now it's definitely for the Americans. Because the Americans are investing and sending Israel military aid.
Right.
And we are here to say you must change your policy.
Right.
To send us reconciliation aids. Instead of sending the region tools of destruction that are creating war.
Right.
Again and again and again. Send us tools of peace and shared future.
Right.
And this is why it's so important for us to be here and speak at the Networks Convention, because we need to change the policy. And I want to share the 3 lessons I learned. Briefly, the lessons I learned after October 7th, the lesson of hope, the lesson of the future, and the lesson of forgiveness.
Yes.
Hope is an action. Hope is not something we find, we lose, or someone else will give us. Hope is an action. And it's very simple to explain how to create hope. We do it together. This is what we're doing with you. Here
Absolutely,
we create hope together by envisioning a better future and by acting to make this future into a reality. So it's very important to create hope. And this is what Networks Annual Convention is doing. So this is why we are so happy to be here. And there are so many organizations, Palestinian, Israeli, shared organizations that are creating hope nowadays. Support us. Support Combatants for Peace. Support Standing Together. Support Women Wage Peace. Support Women of the Sun. Support those who create hope. It's such a devastating and horrible time. The second lesson is the lesson of the future. Even though our people's story is today as far from each other as ever, like the last airstrike in Gaza from last night.
Yes.
Our story the gap is wide as ever.
Right.
But there is a miracle. There is a miracle. Our people meet in the future. We meet in the future that is based on equality and dignity, shared recognition and acknowledgement, reconciliation and healing, security and safety. And this is what we are modeling in our relationship, in our partnership. We are modeling those values and showing others that they can choose our side. They can choose the side of the future. And the most difficult lesson is the lesson of forgiveness. And I learned it from another Palestinian friend, Hamza Awaude, that said, we must forgive for the past, we must forgive for the present, but we cannot and should not forgive for the future.
I love that.
So I've decided to forgive.
I'm
a free person. See, I forgive Hamas, I forgive the Israeli government that betrayed and was accountable for not securing my parents.
Right.
I forgive them. I don't care about them. I'm now just focusing in the future. And this is also a lesson we need to do together. We need to envision and build and imagine a new future and to give alternative for the extremists, for those who polarize and strive on our division, on division in us. Let's build a movement of the future and let's make this future into a reality.
Yeah.
Well, let me tell you something as is. Both of you, folks like you and the other organizations doing your work, need to be elevated. The reality is I should be seeing your info not on a 2-minute clip on the major networks. This should be something that is seen big all over the world. This is something that we should have hours of on the television, especially in these times. But one of the things we should understand is that our economic system depends on conflict throughout because of the industries that we have. And I'm not going to go off on a tangent here at all. But the reason I'm bringing that up is understand that there are external forces that depend on brother fighting brother, cousin fighting cousin, etc. So Aziz, before we close out here, your thoughts.
Yeah, I fully agree. When we met Pope Francis recently, he told us peace happens based on what you saw. If you invest, if you saw in peace, you will get peace back.
Right.
If you invest into war, you get war back. And that's why our message to people is, one, amplify our voices. If mainstream media doesn't want to put us again and again and people like us on TV, then
we will.
No, people do. Yes.
We will. I mean,
exactly.
I don't know if you can see in my face how inspired I am from both of you.
Thank you.
Okay, I am so very much inspired because this is the kind of stuff personally that in the work that I do with the coffee party in the past and with Move to Amend and others, this is the kind of things that we've been striving for. But in the particular Israeli-Palestinian conflict, it takes you all showing in person like you guys are doing right now, that this is possible, that this hatred isn't intrinsic. This hatred is externalities pushing people to disregards.
In America, whenever there's a mass shooting, so many people get on Twitter, on social media, and they say, our prayers and thoughts with the victims. We don't want people pity. We don't want people prayers and thoughts.
Right.
We want you to be part of our movement. We want everyone watching here. We want everyone we meet. You're not just an ally.
Right.
You're not just a supporter. You are a partner.
Right. Absolutely.
You are with us doing this together. And the more people join us, the bigger this movement gets. We together work into changing the policies in the US, the policies in Israel, the policies in Palestine, the policies in Europe. And we together change not only even our conflict, Israel and Palestine, the other issues around us. We need to work together, not against each other. And that's a message that two of us are bringing. Don't divide us. We're not against each other. We are together for a future that's better. The Bible says where there is no vision, people perish. We are bringing a vision. Our existence together. The facts we showing up where people expect us to hate each other. And we're saying, we brothers, we truly care about each other. That's an antidote to extremism. That's an antidote to people who believe the language of war is the only language that we can listen to. We say, no, we are here to speak against this reality, and we will surprise this reality until it changes. That's the hope we are creating. And it's not a sentiment. It's like Ma'oz said, it's an action. Every moment of every day, we are working to make this reality become true. This dream of reality become true. Because it's not just a dream, we every day working and making it happen.
Man, I love you, brothers.
Yes,
I love you, brothers. Mr. Maoz.
Yes.
Let me say right, Inon.
Yes.
And Aziz Abu Salah.
Yes.
Thank you so kindly for being here on Politics Done Right. And I'm going to try like hell to put this out to let people know what the possibilities are. You guys are heroes.
Thank you.
I mean, you are heroes, okay? Thank you so kindly, guys.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Thanks.
I'm honored to have a special person. He is a Panamanian immigrant, an immigrant from Panama. He is a retired officer in the Navy, has always made us proud. And he is married to my sister. He is my brother-in-law, my brother that I love so much. And this one is a special family thing. Arturo, he told me that I must say that Vicente Gil is my favorite brother-in-law. He told me to say that.
As we always have to speak the truth.
He told me to say that, Arturo, okay? You know I love you, Arturo. I love both of my brother-in-laws just the same. But I must say, to get him to do this interview, I had to say that.
There you go.
Okay. All right. But anyway, folks, look, you all know, first of all, welcome to Politics Done Right.
Thank you.
Vicente Gil, thank you for being here, my brother.
Thanks, mano.
Muchas gracias. All right. Here's the thing. We both know that we had a very difficult last 3.5, 4 years. First, my mother-in-law died from a stroke that she got on Christmas Day. Ashley, my daughter, got a stroke 30 days later in January. And from the stories that we talk here on Politics Done Right, she then had a major stroke that caused me to move to DC to take care of her. And as we brought her home after for recovery afterwards, my brother-in-law, my sister called and said, my brother-in-law also had a stroke. And what I want to do today, first of all, is let him talk about, first of all, what happened the tribulations that he went through in his recovery, and to give people the necessary hope that just like my daughter Ashley has really pulled herself up and starting to get back into life, my brother-in-law Vicente gives us that hope that yes, things can happen, but they get better. So Vicente,
Yes.
First of all, tell me a little bit about what happened with you.
Oh, this was in April of 2022. Our Saturday morning, my alarm clock goes off at 5:15 in the morning because it's time to get up and go to Bible study fellowship. And so I woke up and couldn't get out of bed. My right leg was all tingly. It had fallen asleep. At least those were my thoughts. So I kind of slapped it around and said, okay, it'll wake up. After a few minutes of slapping it around and nothing was changing, I woke up my wife and said, hey, your leg ever fallen asleep and then you just can't seem to wake it up? And she goes, no, I should wake up. So after probably 10, 15 minutes in bed, I found my way out of bed, hopped down into the shower. And while in the shower, I stumbled. And my wife said to me, hey, you're not going anywhere other than to the hospital with me. And I remember saying, yes, ma'am. and that was that. Got in the car. She took me to the hospital. And while I'm sitting there, because she had to go around and park, while I'm sitting there, then my right arm started tingling itself. And it turned out that I had a stroke, indeed, on the left side of the brain that affects motor skills on the right side of the body. So it was my right leg, right arm.
Now, when you got, how did you feel? Were you scared? Because a lot of people, when these things are happening, they never know what they need to do, how they need to feel.
Yeah, I was not in any sort of pain, no pain at all. I was concerned. I would not say I was scared. Mm-hmm. But I got even more concerned as I was sitting there and realized that my right arm was then kind of giving away on me. Yeah, then I got some real concern. I was a bit stubborn because going into the emergency room, I was offered a wheelchair. And mucho macho, I said, no, I don't need a wheelchair.
Yo no necesito eso.
I don't need that. And my wife insisted, the helper insisted. I said no. After a while, they finally got me in a wheelchair and took me into emergency.
Now tell us a little bit about the experience, because with the way the hospital system worked with you, etc.
Oh, I got to say they were very, very attentive. As a matter of fact, when they wheeled me into that emergency room, everybody started running around like crazy. And I remember sitting there in that wheelchair saying, wow, all this attention for me. So yes, was I concerned? Yes. But I still had a sense of humor about myself. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So then they took my blood pressure. It was horrendously terrible.
Tell the kind of numbers we're talking about.
We're talking like 257 over 180 or higher.
That is crazy.
I don't remember the exact lower number, but it was greater than 180. And my wife asked the nurse what that reading was. The nurse told her, and I remember her eyes just popped open like an owl. She was like totally concerned. And right about then is when I started to get even more concerned.
Now, what about after all of this was discovered? Did you have to do anything special for, let's say, to stop the stroking process, or was this sort of done on its own?
This was sort of done on its own. They wanted to administer a medication that is supposed to help stroke victims, but not knowing exactly when the stroke happened, because I got up at 5:15 in the morning and I was already in that condition. They did not administer that medication. my blood pressure. They made no attempt to lower my blood pressure. Instead, they left it as high as it was in an effort for whatever clot there might be to be pushed and taken away.
Yeah. So in other words, they didn't want to mess with anything that would have exacerbated the stroke. So after you had the hand involvement and the foot involvement, did it get up much worse after the first day or?
No, the first day was the worst. The second day, there was no progression in condition. The second day is when, most significantly, I could feel the numbness in the arm and the leg, but that was it. Nothing was getting worse.
Now, what about where it comes to recovery? What were the things that you all did to start the recovery process? And I think the most impressive part, Vicente, is how much effort you put into. I mean, anybody who sees you now wouldn't have a clue that you had a stroke. So tell us a little bit about the recovery process and what people with strokes, as best they can, what are the things that they should do?
Yeah, well, recovery in of itself, I had to have a mind shift, quite frankly, because with recovery, I looked at it as a goal, and the goal was to get back to the healthy condition that I once was, that I was experiencing. I gotta say, maybe 2.5, 3 months into recovery, I realized that it's not an end goal, but a journey. How do I get from A to B without stumbling, without disappointing myself? And it was a great mind shift. I'll share with you that I did go through, moments of being depressed. Why me?
I get it, man. I mean, it is the same. That's how we all felt. It just felt like these things were challenging over and over. But the great part about it is how you overcame.
Yeah. So it was a daily effort of just doing a little better than the day before. If I could take 4 or 5 good steps on day 2, I tried for 6, 7 better steps on day 3. Just a journey, just an effort, and I learned very on not to be disappointed if I was not achieving whatever that goal was, but to simply experience, enjoy, and be thankful in the journey.
Vicente, you always talk about a support team, the support team that's right in front of you. You're a leader in your church as well. Talk a little bit about that entire support infrastructure.
Yeah, the support infrastructure has been very, very important in my recovery, in my journey of getting better. Of course, my wife, number one cheerleader, supporter, pushes me to limits. Your mom, who has been also a great supporter, she's the one that mantraed the talk about marching. Instead of me dragging or swinging my right leg, she would say, march, march, march. So a lot of support, including my God. God has been on my side with me every step of the way. I gotta confess, there were times when
There were times when I know
there
this
were
is
times
touching.
when I questioned God.
Yeah.
There were times when I got upset. But he's been there for me every step of the way, carrying me through it. Yes.
You know, there's something that two things that I heard over this weekend that I hadn't heard before in your story. And I think it plays a part even in Ashley's story with strokes and stroke victims getting better. One, we were walking for a while and we were talking about your foot and all of that. And you said, my sister would always tell you, march, Vicente, march. In other words, there was somebody watching you to help you with your form to get back into form.
Yeah.
And then you also, that part was making you aware of, make these changes, keep with these changes. But the other thing that touches how knowing that you have other folks, you know, a lot of times we feel alone when certain things happen to us, we feel alone, right?
Yeah.
And the story that you told yesterday with a person during an alarm, a fire alarm on the job, just being there for you. I mean, that was the most touching story. If you can say that in short form, because if you have friends and families that have a stroke, you will not imagine how it makes that stroke victim person, that person that is ill, not only with a stroke, but with any kind of illness, know that they're not alone when things are down. It's so important.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I got to say that my support crew, number one support, was my wife.
Yes.
Okay. And, I know at times she got frustrated because I might be sitting around doing nothing, but what I was actually doing was mentally psyching myself, working myself up to determine what the next step is. All right. So the greatest cheerleader I've had, not only with stroke, but with other events in life, you know. Another great cheerleader is Mama. Your mom.
Yeah.
Your mom is the one that started the mantra about marching.
Okay.
Okay. And by that, what I mean was my right leg, you know, it would go off and do its own thing as I walked. And eventually I would start kind of just like dragging it or swinging it. And your mom said, Vicente, just march. And what that made me do is lift the leg and put it down.
Right.
So I started marching until it became more of a smooth rhythm.
Right.
And got through that. It is very important for people around you not to be supportive, to be very supportive. This guy at work. So I am back now in the office. This is post-COVID. We're back in the office 2 days a week. We're in a 17-floor building. Our office is on the 15th floor. And this guy that had come to work in this particular team, very good guy. We befriended each other. Long story short is there was a fire. There was a drill. It was a drill. All right. The fire alarm went off. And what's the first thing they do when the fire alarm goes off? They turn off the elevator. And I go, okay. Let's see how we're going to do this. So I remember going to the stairwell, and Harold was right to my left. My right arm. And so I kind of step aside to let him go, you know, before me. He goes, no. I'm going to go down these stairwells with you. I say, no, bro, I got it. He goes, hey, shipmate, I got your back.
He was there for you.
With every step for 15 floors, he took step by step with me. We got down to the ground floor. Finally, I don't recall how long it took, but he, I remember telling him, okay, we're on the ground floor. You go ahead. Look, everybody is moving out. He goes, no, we got to cross the street and we have to go over to our mustering place. And I'm going to be with you. crossing the street and going over to the mustard place. And he did. And so, I promised this guy that for as long as I live, I would share that testimony because he did something above and beyond for someone that, 3 years ago was nobody in my life. He is now a significant support figure.
And I mean, that is so important for people going through whatever it is. In this case, it's Vicente having had a stroke and recovering. But in society in general, which is something that we preach here on our program all of the times, and that is caring for your fellow man. Yeah. And that is exactly what we're talking about. And when Vicente was telling us that story yesterday, it was a touching story that, somebody saying, I will be your wingman. I will be your wing person, which is very important. So Vicente, in closing, how is the recovery going? I mean, the truth of the matter is I know how the recovery is going because Vicente came to Houston from San Diego. He rebuilt my front area with bricks and cement and everything. And he's using both of those hands. If you didn't know this guy had a stroke and was severely impaired, you would never know. He's fixing doors and he's making me look pretty inept, but that's okay.
I'm just working very hard at keeping you in favor with Linda.
Okay.
That's all.
But folks, I mean, but Vicente, I can't tell you how happy we are that, you have gotten over, I'm not even going to say getting over, that you have gotten over this hump and right back again, being the same Vicente you've always been. So what's your message to our audience, stroke victims or anybody going through a very difficult time?
Yeah, my main message would be yes. A lot of conditions can be physical and can drain you physically, but you also have to keep your mind in check. Keep your mind in check. Think through, follow your therapist, and work at it. Day after day with a lot of patience. You got to be patient with yourself. Don't get frustrated. Work through it, and you'll get through it.
First of all, Vicente, thank you so kindly for doing this interview. This has been a special edition of Politics Done Right, people making a difference. Thank you so kindly for listening, and we're out. My brother, Dr. Theis, who will be honored this weekend as with a Peacemaker Award at the Houston Peace and Justice Center. Welcome to Politics Done Right, my brother honoree. How are you doing?
Hey, Egberto, how you doing?
Go ahead, my brother. Talk to me.
Okay, so I agree with you that racism and misogyny played its part in this election. But you're not going to convince people that they are racist and misogynist and therefore need to change their vote Democratic. The way Democrats have to move forward is the way that they have refused to for basically my entire, since 92 at least. Mm-hmm. This has to be a class war, as you say in your book. The only way forward is a class war, right?
Exactly.
Elon Musk,
I'm pointing it
Jeff
now. You're
Bezos,
absolutely right.
Jeff Bezos, Elon Musk, Mark Zuckerberg, those kinds of people need to be made the bad guys, because what's at the heart of this is Americans for 50 years have seen their way of life fall apart. They were made a promise. If you work hard, you will live better than your parents. This is the notion of American exceptionalism. There's something about America. And when Trump says, I'm going to make America great again, he's saying, you're going to get that back. Now, you and I know that giving the wealthy more money is not going to help the working class. But Trump, so politics is much more for most people emotional, not rational. And their emotions say we're getting screwed. And Trump gave them an enemy, pounded that enemy home, and gave them reassurance that if they pick him, he will take care of that enemy. And this election, it happened to be undocumented immigrants and wokeness. And Republicans have been very good at selling that to the American people. And we have to, as progressives, change the narrative and say the reason your life is messed up, the reason you can't get ahead is not because of other people like you, it's because of people like Musk and Bezos and Zuckerberg.
Dr. Theis, that is a reason I've learned so much from your class. In fact, I've been to several of his classes because you nailed it. I agree wholeheartedly. And yes, I wrote a book on its work. I mean, as I see it, class warfare, the only resort to right-wing doom. Only resort is that class warfare that you speak about, Doc. Now, the reason I brought up the race thing is because what a lot of the folks on the networks are trying to do is they're trying to put this, they're trying to create an alternative story as if the deficiency is intrinsically the woman. As you pointed out right there, the deficiency is intrinsically the message and the ultimate result. First, who's at fault? Donald Trump made everybody else that which is at fault. You are saying define the one as fault, the real person that is at fault, and that is the billionaire, that is the plutocracy, that is the oligarchy.
It is, and Democrats don't want to do it because they are part of it too often. And the networks don't want to do it because Joy-Ann Reid and all those people on MSNBC are making millions of dollars a year, and they're happy not paying taxes.
Exactly. I agree wholeheartedly.
It's going to take grassroots organizing. And this is why I liked Sanders so much, because he wasn't afraid to call a spade a spade.
Exactly.
Exactly.
And Doc, I really think that, Bernie started out with this message. I think, and I love the message that, the statement that he released. I think it need some fine tuning because, again, I think it has to have the full narrative, in my humble opinion. But also, and by the way, while he didn't put it as you put it with the class warfare, it is something that needs to be done.
Yeah. So anyway, there's 4 years to do it. Let's hope the Democrats do it.
Well, I think it's we who are going to do it. I am an immigrant. I came from Panama, Central America. I came from the places from the area where a lot of these immigrants are coming from, whether it be Venezuela, Honduras, El Salvador. It's Latin America and the Caribbean. I understand what happens in all these parts of the world. I understand, in fact, what our economic system imposes on the economic system of others that gives a preference to what occurs here in America at the detriment of places in Latin America, whether it be fruits in Central America or rice in Haiti. There are a lot of treaties, etc., a lot of stuff, if you will, that goes beyond the scope of this video that causes the migration that we see. And above and beyond that, also political issues. Venezuela. Imagine if we hadn't sanctioned Venezuela the way we are. Imagine if we didn't try to freeze them into oblivion. That is what we do as a country. And this is important for you to understand. That is what we do as a country. Do it or our way or the highway. And if the country says we're not going to do it your way, then we penalize that country. And when we penalize that country, the pain that comes to that country brings a whole lot of people from that country over here looking for relief from what many a times we've imposed on them. But let's forget about that for now. I want to show the psyche of a Latino family and why this particular Latino family decided to vote for Trump and the hypocrisy with which this family decided to go for Trump. We'll discuss it after the series, but it's imperative that you stick around to hear some analysis on my part.
This one family that I've been in touch with here in Las Vegas for months helps explain a lot of what's going on. Take a look.
No, not right now.
Mario and Mireya Alvarez found the American dream in Las Vegas.
Would you like some coffee?
They came to the U.S. from Mexico and Guatemala in the 80s. With his job in a supermarket and her job in a casino, they bought a house and raised 3 children. Now they wonder if their kids and grandkids will inherit that dream.
Is it still possible to do that for the younger generation?
That's my main concern right now. What's going to happen to our new generation? Nowadays, they're not even able to move out of their houses anymore because everything is so expensive.
Life wasn't expensive as it is right now.
First PlayStation. We first met Mario back in February when he was seriously considering a vote for Donald Trump. He was undecided with previous votes for George W. Bush, Obama, Hillary Clinton, and Biden. At the last minute, he broke for Kamala Harris. But today, he's not upset about the results.
I'm kind of like more happy than upset. Why? Because Donald Trump is going to help the country with the economy.
The whole household is happy. Mireya and their 29-year-old son, Mario Jr., did vote for Trump.
Initially, I will say I did not agree with him. And then I started seeing that he was not afraid to speak his mind. And I noticed that he was not scared to say what he felt, regardless of what people would say. And I think I respect that about him.
So you liked his kind of brashness, his personality?
Yeah, I would say yes.
They're not alone. Across the country, Donald Trump made huge inroads with Latino voters. According to NBC exit polls, 55% of Latino men nationwide voted for Trump, a 19-point jump from 2020. Among Latina women like Mireya, an 8-point gain. And while Vice President Harris won a slight majority of the Latino vote overall, Trump increased his support 14 points from the last election. The top issue among Latino voters, like it is for the Alvarez family, the economy, with immigration a distant fourth. Mario and Mireya both crossed the border illegally as teenagers, but became citizens under President Ronald Reagan's amnesty. They see themselves as different from migrants crossing the border today.
In what way do you think they're different?
The people that are coming here are the criminals. You know, the ones that did something bad in their country, they're running away from their law.
Despite having close family members who are undocumented,
migrant invasion.
They don't believe they'll end up in Trump's crosshairs.
When you hear Trump promise mass deportations, do you worry about them?
Yes and no, because the ones that I know, they're doing good. They're not breaking any laws.
I believe he's going to start deporting all the bad people.
Trump won over the Alvarez family, and many like them. Whether the economy improves and who exactly he chooses to deport may determine if he keeps them.
My family is Latino, and a lot of them are immigrants. But at the end of the day, we're American.
As I said, when I started the video, I am from Central America. I understand a lot of the problems caused by many a times by our policies that causes a lot of migration over here. I already mentioned the rice issue in Haiti, but here is the hypocrisy. For whatever reason, this woman from, I think she said she's from Honduras or Guatemala, one of Central American countries, my sister country, and the dad, I think, from Mexico, they both came over the border illegally. They're illegal. They were here illegally. And still, those who are trying to get the same opportunity that they had, they want to deny. They came here, they went through the cracks and became citizens. Now, I want to ask you one question. Why do you think this Latino family that understands the reason that they crossed the border, understands the economic opportunity they were seeking, and they did come here and lived a great life, and I'm happy for that, and I don't want them to go back, but that they're so hard on those who are still trying to come, that they're so hard, and not only hard, but maliciously so, as they call them criminals. How did that happen? How are those people coming over now criminals, but you aren't? How did that happen? And that is a major, major issue we have to tackle, because that is where Democrats failed. Donald Trump and his cabal, they were up on radio, social media, and in Spanish. I heard it myself. First of all, demonizing Democrats as not being for you. Demonizing, giving the impression that the border issues didn't really concern Latinos. It concerned criminals. They decentralize the being of those people crossing the border from who they really are. And that abstraction gives that Latino family in, I think it was Las Vegas or wherever, or Reno or wherever they are, the ability to disassociate themselves from those who are crossing now. It is the best psychological genius from the Republican Party, right? In other words, they hate this family. There's no doubt. You ask Miller, Mr. Trump's new czar that's going to handle immigration, what he thinks about these guys here. He doesn't want to have anything to do with them. America is for Americans. Of course, you know the border cross Mexico, not the other way around. But when you see what they've done with these people psychologically, this is what the message was over and over again. This was psychological warfare, not just social media warfare. It was psychological warfare that just didn't begin 3 months before the election. This psychological warfare has been going on for 9 years or more. As it picks people off, and the same psychological effect it's doing with, let's say, the Latinos, right? In the case of Latinos, and by the way, I happen to share Latino, Caribbean, Black, the whole shebang, so I understand the psychology of what they're doing here. Listen to the psychology. This is great. What they've done is they directed their ad. That is the marvel of the internet, social media, and directed radio. Right? Because what they do is they send different messages to different listeners. To Latino women, they send a message of fear, and that somehow those people coming over the border, they're not like you. They're not like you. They don't put on the Latinidad onto those people. So that woman can feel that if she votes for Trump, she's voting for her security. On the guy, it's like, hey, they're coming for your job, and they're criminals, and they're coming for your women. I mean, the kinds of ads that we're talking about, the target of these ads, your masculinity, that kind of ad. To Jewish people, they go ahead and they say, Kamala Harris loves Palestinians, and she would be a detriment to Jews. It didn't work too well with Jews, as they still voted north of 70% for her. And then they go to Palestinians and Arabs and Muslims and tell them, look, she's married to a Jewish guy, and this Jewish guy has her ears, and it'll hurt you, because notice that she's not stopping Biden from bombing as if she could, as if AIPAC or any of the other lobbyists from Israel would allow anybody, Trump or her, to do anything other unless they decide to have the resolve to fight. And then how do you talk to white men? You don't have to talk too much about that, other than to tell the guy that's digging coal, the guy that's working in the mine, the guy that is not college educated. Look at those uppity, you know what, there. They are getting all these government forgiveness for their loans. Did anybody forgive your loan for your pickup truck? I mean, the directed marketing was perfect. And imagine, even with that directed marketing, the election was by the time all the votes are counted, Donald Trump would have won the popular vote by probably 1%. But look, I try to tell people several times, the race was won specifically because of the fears Donald Trump put into mostly white people, that a woman, first of all, we know that the country is already a misogynist country. So getting over the woman hump would have been tough. Hillary Clinton thought she got over the woman hump, and for all practical purposes, she did, because she won the popular vote. She just didn't win it in the right states. Kamala Harris was a backslide, and that backslide had everything to do with her hue and a woman. In other words, she had a whammy that Hillary Clinton didn't have to overcome. Folks, we have to change this country. We have to make this country a better country. We have to stop the psychological warfare that continuously wealthy people who can afford to can go ahead and mess with people's minds. We need, those of us in the independent media, we need not only funding, we need support so that we can counteract those messages that have gotten to all these people. Imagine if you can convince a Latino that came over here illegally that somebody else doing the same thing is a criminal. That is a great psychological feat. And the only way to arrest that is for us to counter program. What we do here at Politics Done Right, we counteract the programming wherever we can get a foothold. Our videos and our videos and blogs and articles and books, yeah, they get thousands of viewings, but we need more. We need more support to do all this stuff. So I'm going to tell you something. If you want us to really have a change, a lot of what we do needs to be funded. So when you see us say, please go ahead and give us a super chat, or go ahead and give us a thank you in YouTube, or go ahead and sign up at politicsdoneright.com, or go ahead and become a part of our Substack and become a paid subscriber to our newsletter, politicsdoneright.com/newsletter. When we're asking you that, it's because the only way we are going to change the message is if we are supported in such a manner that we can put that message out. A Latino family who came over here illegally, look at all other illegal or the folks that cross the border illegally as criminals. Think about that and think about how much work we have to do to deprogram what the Trump message has done. Support for this show, Politics Done Right, comes from politicsdoneright.com, publishers of How to Make America Utopia, Take Away the Economy from Those Who Rigged It, As I See It, Class Warfare, The Only Resort to Right-Wing Doom, It's Worth It, How to Talk to Your Right-Wing Relatives, Friends, and Neighbors, and other books written by Egberto Willis. Welcome to Politics Done Right. I am your host, Egberto Willis. This is a progressive program that will take the mystery out of politics. This is the program that will encourage you to make sure government becomes we the people. Whether you are liberal, progressive, conservative, or otherwise, you get to air your point of view. We are an independent media outlet that, unlike mainstream media beholden to corporations, we only owe allegiance to you. Remember, you can also send me a tweet at EGBERTOWILLIES. That is at Egberto Willis. Let us engage. It is Politics Done Right.